Hello everyone, I'm finally getting into Stardew Valley Mobile, and today I just wanted to share with you some of the most interesting aspects that I've learned so far. So without any more boring intro, let's get into it. The basic watering is actually a lot easier than it is on PC. That's because you can just individually touch the crops ahead of yourself and your character will just chase them down individually, watering them as he goes. This kind of turns into a game in itself because you're trying to touch all the crops accurately as the screen is panning around and your character is trying to catch up and water everything. I was initially very worried that watering would be a very tedious task, but turns out it's easier than ever before. Next, let's talk about fishing. Fishing is also quite easy with the exception of trying to get that first cast into the water. The game does seem to be just a little bit picky on where you need to touch in order to place that lure into the water. But once you get that under control, the fishing actually feels really good. Because of the simple nature of it, I actually think the tapping feels a lot more natural than the clicking. Again, I was a little bit worried that fishing was going to be challenging on mobile, but it's as easy if not easier than it is on PC. So enjoy the wonderful fishing process. In fact, it's so enjoyable that instead of casting my line back in the water, my player runs over to Willy to have a little chat, before running around some more, and finally getting his rod back into the water. And at this point, Willy's seen enough. But I'm still a better fisherman than he is. The trick seems to be tapping right at the edge of the river and hoping your character casts out into the water. It helps to have your fishing rod equipped at this point. Also, it turns out you can no longer drag stuff out of your inventory and throw it on the ground. That's right, straight into the garbage can. Now let's talk about the menus. Obviously a pretty major overhaul was needed to accommodate the mobile touch market. These menus are all very straightforward, very simple, and very intuitive. It's all very clearly laid out with everything you need right before your eyes. Take for example the player creation screen. It's got everything you need, very easily accessible for you, very easy to adjust anything you want and jump right into the game. The gameplay itself really didn't change. This is still Stardew Valley, just like you'd expect. The only thing that did change were the controls and the UI. The controls work pretty well. It's simply touch to touch. Curious as to what something is or what it does? Well, touch it. Your player will walk right over to it and interact with it. There is something of an auto tool select that works great for things like rocks and sticks, but won't work on other things like grass and hoeing the ground. One of the new features I do really like is you can now see where you can use the item that you're holding. This applies to furniture and obviously seeds and planting. Now why this is such a big deal is it's going to help a lot with the planning and layout of things. You can finally see exactly where you can and cannot put things. Diving a little further into the menus, your backpack hasn't changed very much. Your skills tab is still your skills tab. Clearly Mumps is putting in the hours. The social page naturally shows you your selection of victims. I do like the way the crafting page is laid out. It seems very simple and easy to recognize. I've pored over the map pretty closely so far to see if there's any changes, and so far I haven't been able to find any. The collections tab very quickly, simply, and easily show you all the many items there are to overwhelm new players. Good luck collecting all of those things. And perhaps most interestingly is the settings menu. Along with the normal adjustable features, we have 3 new things to look at: the vertical toolbar, the auto attack, and the item placement guide. The auto attack is the one I want to talk about because the other 2 are pretty self-explanatory, and to do that we need to go to the mines. Now because of the touch then move style controls, it makes combat a little bit tricky, and that's exactly why they added the auto attack option. It actually does make combat quite a bit different than what you would find on PC or console. Basically, as long as you're near a slime and have your sword equipped, you will automatically swing it as fast as you possibly can. This is very easy to use, but also really seems to simplify combat. One of the considerable drawbacks of this is your idiot isn't always entirely sure which direction to swing his sword, and if the slime gets to your feet you do have to reposition yourself again before you're able to kill that slime. So if this was a particularly strong slime or perhaps one of the creatures in Skull Cavern, my iPad might be headed for the window. And this control feature has drawn a little bit of criticism, but given the nature of the way the controls are laid out, it's really all they can do, and to be fair, I haven't actually tried it with auto attack off, which might actually be quite a bit easier, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The rest of mining, however, is a very nice experience. Touch the rock, walk over, smash it, rinse, repeat. It's a very satisfying and simple process that suits Stardew Valley absolutely perfectly. Even on my large iPad, it's very easy to control, so you wander around, touching those rocks, wait till the slime gets close, and let your character take care of it. One of the areas where I do keep having trouble is misclicking. Because I'm not a very precise clicker, I tend to go give Pierre a lot of gifts instead of buying stuff from him, which is great for Pierre but not that good for me. And as you can see, we have new slider menus when dealing with any of the merchants. It's very easy now to buy or sell everything you want. The interesting thing is the slider won't go more than your maximum money, so you can simply buy the maximum amount of things you possibly can afford in an instant. I'm actually really impressed with how much they simplified this game yet again, even more to fit mobile. Really well done. Something else this game lacks is a quick move button. When in the menus, you have to physically drag and drop into the other side. This isn't necessarily a big deal because if that item already exists up there, it automatically stacks anyway, so that helps with organization. Overall, Stardew Valley Mobile has managed to live up to its lofty standards of Stardew Valley. Every version of this game so far has been absolutely amazing, and this one is no exception. It's so easy to just pick up and play without any issue. You don't have to look for anything, you don't have to try to figure anything out, it's all just laid out. Everything is exactly where it should be, where you would expect it to be. If there was one thing that I would change, or rather add to the game, it might just be a different control layout. Like people have been saying, the combat does feel a little bit odd at times, and I think adding something just like a D-pad in the left side of the screen and then a tool button on the right side of the screen, that way you could just navigate around and use the tools in the direction you're facing. I think that would actually be a really good thing to add to this game down the road. And for those of you that don't already know, this is out for iOS currently. It is coming to Android somewhere down the road. We don't know an exact date yet, but they're going to let us know as soon as they know. And this is the full version of Stardew Valley, the latest update, minus the multiplayer. There is no multiplayer for mobile, and we don't yet know if it's going to happen for mobile or not. Well, I just wanted to share what I learned about mobile so far, some of the more interesting things that a lot of you guys are probably interested in. There are very approximately 20-ish facts. Other than that, I hope you liked this one. Thank you all for watching.